And welcome back to The Watchman from Washington, D.C. This cell phone that I'm holding in my hand would not be possible without Israeli technology. Israel is blessing the world, fulfilling its destiny as a light unto the nations with a series of groundbreaking innovations, discoveries, and inventions. They are at the forefront of all the high-tech breakthroughs you are seeing in the world right now. And folks, I firmly believe if there's a cure for Alzheimer's or cancer found in the next few years, it will be found in Israel. That's why I was so excited to read Avi Yorish's great new book, Thou Shalt Innovate. Avi spent years going inside the amazing Israeli ingenuity and innovation and showing how this tiny nation is punching far above its weight and blessing the world and you. Take a look. One of the themes you hit in the book, Avi, is that Israel is a light unto the nations. They're fulfilling that destiny as a light unto the nations. Talk about why this is so important for the Jewish people and how this is really, as you write in the book, ingrained in their DNA.
3 times a day we pray the Aleinu prayer, which instructs us to repair the world. We believe we have a social contract with God to spread morality and social justice. You have here the chapters of Our Father, which encourages us to also make the world a better place. If not now, then when? You have the prophet Isaiah who calls on us to be a light onto the nations. When I bless my children on Friday night and on Saturday when we separate the Sabbath to the rest of the week, we say separation from the holiness, from the mundane to the holiness. No less than 10 times in the Mishnah, it instructs us to repair the world for the sake of those who are less advantaged than yourself. When Ben Gurion declared the state in 1948, he stood on the lectern and he did 2 things. One, he encouraged all Jews to come home. The doors are open. You may come back at any time. But he did something else. He essentially said, he baked in a messianic principle into the very founding of the State of Israel. He said, we have the historic privilege and obligation to tackle some of the greatest challenges of the 20th century. And in Israel, that concept has come to mean the use of technology to influence and impact the lives of billions of people. If one person can stand, perhaps no one has to suffer being in a wheelchair. If one person can drink, perhaps we can provide water to the rest of humanity. If one person can grow a cherry tomato, perhaps we can solve world hunger. For thousands of years, our prophets have been telling us, help the needy, feed the hungry, heal the sick. And Israel is basically doing that today. It's taking this prophetic tradition and marrying it with technology and improving the lives of billions of people. You cannot repeat day in and day out, help the poor, feed the hungry, heal the sick, and for that not to have a deep and lasting impact on the cultural DNA of a people. And the modern day Israel is what happens when you have a prophetic tradition and technology, and they meet. And Israel today is leveraging its technology, both low and high, and improving the lives of billions of people when it comes to water, when it comes to medicine, when it comes to science, when it comes to food. Israel is improving the world and collectively improving the lives of billions of people.
It seems that the Jewish people you write about in the book cannot remain indifferent when they see people struggling and when they see injustice.
So first of all, your viewers may not be aware that Israel has more startups combined than Canada, India, Japan, the United Kingdom, and Korea combined. And outside of the United States, it has more companies listed on the NASDAQ than any other country outside of North America. And what makes Israel special, it combines a number of different attributes in order to become a technological powerhouse. It has great universities. It is an incredibly diverse culture with Jews from all over the world having come home, along with Christians, Muslims, Druze, and Bedouin. It's a very diverse country. You have very smart government programs. You have not a lot of resources in the state of Israel, so it forces you to become very creative. Necessity is the mother of innovation. You have this idea of chutzpah, this idea of gall, never taking no for an answer and really getting very, very creative. You have these attributes and you marry them with a prophetic tradition and you have a highly innovative society.
There's at least 15 great innovators or innovations coming from Israel in the book. There's many more that you outline there as well. I want to talk about one of them, how Israel is helping to solve the world's water crisis and the irrigation technology that's blessing people in the third world and beyond. Tell us about that.
So let's talk about it. First of all, Israel is a country that is 60% desert, But it is the only country in the world, let me repeat, it is the only country in the world that has declared water independence. It is now a water superpower. It is not dependent on its neighbors, and it is not dependent on the weather. And it has done that using a few different technologies. One, desalination. Israel has 5 desalination plants around the country. One. And incidentally, Israeli company, a company by the name of IDE has built the largest desalination plant in the Western Hemisphere in California. It has also built the largest desalination plant in India and in China. So one, you have here desalination coming to into the taps of every Israeli. One. Two, drip irrigation. It's an idea that came into play in the 1950s or 60s. Really, it took a while for it to come into play. Essentially, this technology is used by over 1 billion people in the world, slowly drip, 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 using water from these plastic tubes. It essentially uses 1/3 of the water, and it doubles the yield of crops. So that's the second way. The third way, when we flush our toilets, okay, it has become one of the most valuable commodities. Israel removes the waste, it recycles and cleans that water 5 times, and it recycles 90% of that water. And it is now being used for irrigation.
Up next, Avi Ura shares how Israel's legendary Iron Dome missile defense system was born. Folks, you will not want to miss this. Don't move.